That's the sound I woke up to at the end of my crack cocaine addiction and my first honest desire for quality recovery. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to wake up anywhere. I was expecting to be welcomed into heaven because by then I had already lived in hell or been in hell, lived on the dark side. That's what I had been doing for the better part of my life. I know I touched on some of these subjects in the blog series, so I'm not going to go over all of them. But, I witnessed it firsthand when I walked into shooting galleries in the middle of Harlem and saw addicts lying about with needles hanging out of their arms when I was there to buy crack. I witnessed it when I watched what women would do for just a $5 hit of crack. I never sold my body for crack, but I certainly sold my soul. When I was down on all fours, crumbing on my kitchen floor and my living room floor and pulling up the rug and looking for pieces of crack that I was absolutely sure I must have dropped after being up for 7 days straight, I was pretty sure I was living in hell, and this voice came in my head and it said something to the effect of, you're worshiping something, all right, but not what you should be. And, again, I really just thought that was a hallucination. And because that happened quite often after you'd been up for 7 days. And this girl, this friend, whatever you want to call her, I don't really call her a friend, but she was a running buddy of mine. She handed me a couple of pills and she said, here, take these, this will calm you down. And I'm not a pill person, so, I had no idea what they were, but I took a couple of them and I calmed down, and she set them on the table, which was, I might add, the only thing left in my house because I had absolutely pawned everything and anything that was worth any money at all. And this included not just my jewelry, but my spouse's jewelry of my spouse of almost 13 years. Her jewelry as well. Everything she owned, everything I owned. So that's about all that was left in the apartment. And anyway, she had fallen asleep, and the bottle was sitting there on the table. And, I'm just kind of sitting there talking to myself. And I'm saying, God, I've lost everything. And I hate this fucking drug. I hate it. I'm never going to be able to stop. And that's all I kept saying. I'm never going to be able to stop. My whole life's been nothing but a fucking joke. And this is, that's how I felt about myself. And I said, I'm done. I'm just done with everything. And, all of a sudden I saw the bottle and I said, you know what? I am done. And I had never been one who attempted suicide. I really, even through everything, always had a respect for life and wanted to live. But at that exact moment, I grabbed that bottle and I swallowed the entire thing. And, by divine intervention, I woke up to that sound you heard at the beginning of this video. Because that night, my grandmother was awoke by a friend of mine who was woken up in the middle of the night, just woke up out of nowhere, and said she didn't have a good feeling about how I was doing. And she called my grandmother and told her she should come check on me. And my grandmother lived in the apartment next to me because we owned a house together that was divided into apartments. So she did that. She came and checked on me and found me unresponsive, and hence I woke up to the sound. And I would say, at that point, I remember taking a long look at my grandmother and I said to her, I need help. I need to go somewhere. And by now, I had already been, to several rehabs, in and out throughout my life, probably 6 or 7. I can't even remember the total count. That kind of, and I'm going to back up just a little bit here. Most of my rehabs I went to from the age of 17 to 19. Because I kind of started seeing at 19 I was in a little bit of trouble. I started doing some check kiting, having a little bit of legal problems, and so I did start going to meetings. I always went to AA meetings, even though I wasn't an alcoholic, because I liked the AA people better. And, I got a sponsor, and I pretty much stayed clean throughout all my 20s, except for maybe a couple of little hiccups here and there, but nothing really much to speak about. And I'm not quite sure what happened at 30, 31 that made me, seek the drug back out, but I did. And I started using again, and it was recreational, if you can call it recreational. At least I was still able to put it down and walk away and go back to work on Monday morning. And, but then it just became a freight train. I couldn't put it down. And you're talking, I was a teacher. I was a teacher smoking crack. And, that's pretty horrific, in my mind. And, so anyway, a lot of other stuff happened, way too much for me to go into this video. If you're interested in hearing more about it, you can certainly private message me, and I'll be glad to share my whole story with you. Anyway, so for the next 42 days, I got sent away to an upscale psychiatric ward in Cooperstown, New York, and I really thought I was existing in a parallel universe when they checked me into that place. I kept telling my nurse, Rebecca, that all I had to do was get back over to the good side. And I guess in hindsight, that was sort of the truth. I needed to get back over to the light, and out of the darkness. And for the first 2 weeks I was in there, I sat in a corner and I didn't speak to no one. And, I guess I basically had a nervous breakdown. They had me so doped up on medicine to come off of this crack that I was told that if they gave me any more, they would overdose me. And I still had a mini stroke coming off of this crack cocaine. This is how serious it had become. So finally, after a couple of weeks, my grandmother showed up, and I had been introduced to the law of attraction right before this happened, and thanks to my friend. And she brought all my law of attraction discs to the psychiatric unit with her. And I started listening to them again while I was in there. And once I got out, I'm not going to tell you it was easy, because if anybody tells you your first year getting clean is easy, they're a liar. Okay? I tell all my sponsees that I help, because it's not easy. It's mindset, because here is where I come back to the mindset. Just like you can rewire your brain for good things, it can be wired for negative things too. And crack cocaine does just that, just what I wrote in the series. It rewires itself to the pleasure center area of your brain, and you want it. It doesn't just die off. It takes anywhere from 9 to 18 months for those pathways to die off, and that's why the relapse rate, 87%, is so high. So, I just held on. And in the last 10 plus years that I've been clean from the crack cocaine, I've just been on a self-improvement quest, I guess you could call it. My whole life has changed. Ever since I was a young girl, I've had a calling inside of me to help other people, to want to teach, to, reach out and help those in need. It's been with me for as long as I can remember. That's always been my passion. And yeah, so 10 years I studied law of attraction. I went to Duke, to seminary school, and studied theology. I became a certified Stevens minister, a certified Holy Eucharist minister, many, many, many spiritual endeavors. And I finally was starting to become, okay in Laura's skin. And and a lot of therapy and a lot of counseling too. It wasn't just all the spiritual stuff I was doing. And so then, back in 2014, in April 14th of 2014, my mom passed away. And she was young. We found out 3 weeks after she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She died 3 weeks later. And about 4 or 5 weeks after she died, a good friend of mine, said to me, hey, listen, I'm looking at this thing called Empower Network. Maybe you want to have a look at it. I know you have a lot going on right now, but just have a look at it if you get a chance. So, or if you feel like it. So, actually I'd forgotten about it. And a week or two went by, and then I said, oh yeah, that Empower Network. Let me check out that link she sent me. So I checked it out, and I signed up, and 3 weeks later, I found myself in Denver. I mean, I signed up because it was only $25. It's not rocket science. I wanted to see, what they were saying on the inside. So for $25, I figured it's worth it. But 3 weeks later, I found myself in Denver, Colorado, surrounded by thousands and thousands of people, and was just totally overcome with a sense of belonging. And I knew that this was where I belonged, and it was going to be the vehicle that was going to allow me to live my passion. And as I mentioned, I'm going to write my next few series about what Empower Network is, what it can do for you, and because it can do a lot. And if you want to get ahead of the crowd, then just click below and get in now. And I thank you for letting me share what I've shared here today. And certainly, if you are in trouble and you are in immediate need of help, please private message me, and I will hook you up with getting you some help. And that's it. Thank you for letting me share. Have a blessed day.